Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And tonight, we will be continuing where we left off in our last podcast, where we talk about Conan the Destroyer, that was released in 1984.
Somewhat.
2 years after the first Conan the Barbarian movie.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years, yeah. That's right, 82 and 84. That's right, you're correct. Very good. You see, you can count to two.
Yes, and of course, in this one, it's a bit more of has a little bit of a lighter comedy side to it.
Well, actually, I was going to talk about that later on, but what they did, they toned down the violence a bit to try and get a PG rating on it, and I think really they should have committed to one or the other.
And according
kept
to
it violent and action packed.
and according to Arnold, this was the least favorite of his the movies.
Still a good movie. Don't get me wrong.
It's still a good movie. I grant you, it's good. I'm not being judgmental.
No. The point is, they tried. The first movie was a little bit more action, a bit more violence in it, and they wanted to turn it down to, instead of getting a adult rating, and I want to get a PG rating on it, or something like that.
Another thing I should, before we go on, I wanted to send out my best, my best to William Smith's family. He starred in the first Conan the Barbarian as Conan's dad, so I just want to send on my regards to the family who may be feeling a little.
He passed away, didn't he?
Yeah, he passed away this
Recently?
month.
Oh, okay. You mentioned that the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about him in our last podcast, and then I remembered how he passed away this month, and I think that we should send our best to the families.
We should have sent the other one, but that's okay.
Yes, so all the best to his family and everything.
All the best. Yeah. I hope he didn't die in pain or anything, but we all go sometime.
Yes.
Anyway,
back to this movie. Sorry.
Let's go. Now, okay. There's a few changes in the production and different things. This is produced by Rafael De Laurentiis. He did the original movie, the first movie. Dino De Laurentiis' daughter. Now, directed by Richard Fleischer. Now, the other guy, I can't remember his name, Milius, or whatever. Milius, who directed the first movie, he wasn't available for this one. So Richard was well known to all those involved, so they brought him in on the project. Screenplay by Stanley Mann. Story by Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway. Yes, based on the Conan the Barbarian comic by Robert Howard, as we said in the last podcast. It's obviously a sequel to the Conan Barbarian movie 2 years prior.
Another thing about this is, let me see, as I said before, Arnold was unhappy about the script because he didn't like the fact it was more comedy related, and he tried to convey this fact to the producers about trying to make it a little bit more serious, but he failed. You think now you could just, if you guys hate this movie, I regard you guys, please point the finger at the producers.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the movie. It's like I said, it's how do you put it? I wouldn't say Disney meets Conan, but they softened it a bit, so it made it to try and get a broader audience base, possibly.
You see, guys, they were hoping to make this into a film franchise, you see, and thanks to this one, it kind of it didn't help.
No, the Conan script 3 was turned into another movie. Ghouls, something or other. I can't remember what it's called now. Yeah, and it failed miserably because Arnold Schwarzenegger was not playing the role and had a different production team.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, probably that's why.
And different actor, obviously.
Well, I said there's no Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Conan the Barbarian, and when you go even do a spin-off there, you got someone else doing the role. It's like Judge Dredd. You had Sylvester Stallone playing the role.
Yeah.
They made the next movie, they put somebody else on who didn't take his helmet off because it wasn't sliced alone. Whatever.
Anyway, let's get back to this.
Okay. Now, box office, budget and whatever. Now, budget about 18 mil. I think the previous movie was about 20 mil. The first movie, Conan, I've got the figures in front of me, fared better at the box office and then subsequently made a lot more money on the home media. This one made a bit less at the box office as far as I'm aware. I think it came in about 30 mil. Now, okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger, guess what? He played Conan. Ooh. Now, a couple of interesting people here. Grace Jones. Now, some of you younger people may not know Grace Jones. She was a singer a couple of years back, a couple of decades back now, back in the 80s.
And she was one of the James Bond girls in
She was in the James Bond movie, yes. But she had to play a warrior type somewhere
Amazon.
across... No, not an Amazon, because it would have been like a Zulu princess type. Yeah, one of those solid, athletic, and really out there. And Grace nailed it.
Yeah.
Grace did a fantastic job. Grace, if you're listening, you did great. I could watch you in that movie and the Arnold Schwarzenegger, the James Bond movie as well. I'm surprised you didn't do more acting. You did quite good. Action hero, well, yeah, why not? Anyway, now Wilt Chamberlain plays a role in here. I will talk about him in a minute. His name's Bob Batter, and now this is his first and only film. I think he was a basketball player or something. He's a sports guy anyway.
Yeah, interesting thing about this is that when they were casting him for this role, they had a difficult time trying to find a horse for him to ride because
damn big.
Because he's so damn tall.
Why? Because he got a Clydesdale.
So they ended up getting a horse directly from Mexico to fit his profile.
A big one. Well, actually, they filmed in Mexico, so that's probably a good reason why they got it from Mexico.
So they kind of ordered in a special horse for him.
It had big furry feet. No, Clydesdales. The knights used to ride big horses, like Clydesdales and those sort of things. And they had these big furry feet.
Okay.
Hair. They were big horses.
Yeah,
to weight.
Another thing about Will Chamberlain and Grace Jones, they kind of didn't get along really well in this production.
I didn't know that.
So this is probably the only time they got to work together and didn't feel comfortable.
Well, that's okay. They didn't have to be movies together. But anyway, moving right along. Macau, or Mako, or whatever his name is, that little Chinese guy in the first movie rears his head again in this movie, still playing the wizard. So, yeah, his name's Akiro in this movie. I think he didn't have a name in the first movie. They called it the Wizard of the Mounds or something like that. There's not too many other people I want to go through. Sarah Douglas plays Queen Tamariss. Now, Queen Tamariss plays an interesting role, but the lady Sarah Douglas, I'm not quite sure. I think she had something in the background on the other movies as well. I don't know. I can't remember, but I have to check into that later on.
Oh, you're forgetting Arnold's new sidekick friend.
I just jumped him for a minute.
I know, but even though what's he face?
Okay, Tracy Walter played Malachi's sidekick. Yeah, there you go then.
Because the other one, who was in the first movie, he was no longer in this one.
He was another sports guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. Subotai.
Yeah, Subotai, whatever. Now, I'll drop down a piece. Now, one person here was uncredited. A well-known person, if you like fantasy movies. Andre the Giant, who was in Princess Bride, plays a monster called a Dagoth. He's all heavily made up in monster clothes and stuff. You would not pick him. Yeah. But because of his size and everything, they wanted someone big and beefy.
No wonder they were. Yeah. It was an awesome selection of actors.
Yeah, they had him. Well, yeah, not great, but they wanted someone big and solid. And they put a latex suit on. Well, not latex suit. What do you call it?
Plastic suit.
Oh, rubber suit. Whatever you use. Yeah. And he was inside the suit playing this big, arrogant, nasty monster type. And he is a big guy.
Yeah.
Going back.
Can we mention the princess?
Yeah, I'll mention her. Olivia Darbo played Princess Jehnna. Cute little thing.
Yeah, very cute.
I think she wanted to make some other movies, didn't she?
Yeah, but this one kind of
she got going.
Didn't. Well, actually, I think that
sank her career.
Sank her career a little bit.
Right, yeah, whatever.
I think she was nominated for worst actress.
Worst actress, maybe, yeah, something like that. But that doesn't mean...
Even though
that's nothing.
Even though this
rubbish.
helped her, with her screaming in this production.
Eek. Anyway, I'll go on any more people there. I suppose it's about time you took us away and told the tale of Conan the Destroyer.
Okay, so we start off. Our narrator tells us about Conan, and then the Queen and her minions, they try to kidnap Conan and all that stuff. And Conan is still grieving over his lost previous girlfriend,
Valeria. She wasn't bad, was it?
Yeah. And the Queen decides to test Conan in this, in the process.
She comes up to Conan with a handful of guards, warriors, whatever, and try to beat him up and see how good he is.
Yeah, and she then when Conan, she tries to persuade Conan to do this test for him. He says no, but then she sees that he really wants something out of it, like something that not many people could probably give him if he wanted to.
She promised him to bring his dearly departed Valeria back to life, if he chose to take on the job that she's offering. There you go.
Of course, he does accept, and he then follows her to her castle, her kingdom, and sorts. And everyone knows him there. I think it's because of his exploits with the snake cult.
Yeah, and they're in the comics.
Movie. Probably. But they know him, and they know of his exploits.
Yeah, well, the Queen knew about him. That's why she went looking for him.
Yeah, so anyway, she hired him and tells him that his job is to take her niece...
Cutie Pie Princess.
Her niece, who's destined to find the special horn for a statue of sorts.
Hold this thought. She's a virgin.
Hint, hint, guys.
She needs to be kept a virgin for a ritual later on in the movie.
But it's more than that. It's not just a virgin, because you can get any virgin these days.
Yeah, but only a virgin can take the to collect what they need to collect on the quest.
But there's a big big piece of the puzzle. She has to have a birthmark somewhere on her body that hints that she's the one to do.
And she had the birthmark, and she was a virgin. And
so if she was not a virgin, it would not matter too much.
Well, I think she had to be a virgin for the ritual, but she had to have the birthmark as well as to be the chosen one to go get the artifacts to bring back for the ritual.
Yes.
Ta-da!
Yes. So she heads off with both her security, her bodyguard, what's his name? Bombarda, and Conan, and Conan's new sidekick, I should mention, Malek, who's a bit of a comedy relief thief.
Yeah.
Who's a bit of a wimp.
He's a wimp. Yeah, he hides from danger and stuff more so than these other. His previous sidekick, he was an archer and a good fighter. Yeah.
Agreed. And anyway, moving on. So Jehnna, Princess Jehnna, she tells Bombard that she kind of likes Conan, even though she's protected and.
She'd never been with a man before, even socially. So the only man that she's actually seen alive and walking around is Bombarda, probably.
But they're not. She's not sexually interested in him.
He's like a father figure almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they head on their way, and as they head through a village, they hear. Well, actually, they're not. Before they get to the village,
they go looking for the wizard.
They go looking for the wizard, who's abducted by a bunch of cannibals who want to eat him so they can have the magic in their blood.
I'd rather eat Conan. There's more meat on him. The other guy's only little and weedy. I mean, you have to cook him, all the fat drips off and everything, and all the bones. There's hardly a meal in him. It's like having a fish cake, and I'd rather have a fish.
Yeah, so he accepts to come along, and along the way they meet a town who was hurting this lady who's Zula,
who she was a thief. And they were teasing her and
mistreating her
and torturing her. Yeah. And you had her chained up and not beating her with sticks or whatever. But she was trying to fight them off.
Thanks to Conan, he swipes his sword and breaks her chain, and she tries to whack a few of the peasants.
Yeah, he's got a pole like a fighting staff.
Interesting thing, Grace Kelly actually knocked
Grace Kelly?
I mean, not Grace Kelly, sorry. I mean, Grace...
She's around this movie? I didn't notice her.
No, sorry, guys.
Grace Jones.
Grace Jones. She actually knocked out several of the actors in real life, and they went to hospital.
Really? She's good.
Yeah, a bit dangerous.
Good one, Grace.
Yeah, so she kind of did some damage there in real life too. So anyway, she decides to come along with Conan after having a bicker with dear old Bombard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bombard didn't want Grace to come along, and Arnie and the princess wanted Grace to have a chance, so he said, oh, okay, come along.
Yeah. She is an awesome actress. Anyway.
It was just great for the role.
Yeah. Soon enough, they arrive at a lake with a castle, glass castle
well, it looks
on
like
the
glass
lake.
castle or something, or made out of quartz or something or other, or we think it was made out of glass.
Interesting thing about this castle is it hides a special key that allows them to find the treasure. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, it's a two-parter.
So without the key, the princess Jehnna, she has to get it.
Nobody else can touch it.
No one else can touch it. They can probably turn into. They'll shatter into a few pieces.
They can go, but they can't touch it. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Later that night, while they're resting, the wizard living in the castle abducts Jehnna and attempts on having her touch the diamond key.
I think he was protecting it, but he couldn't touch it either.
Yeah, meaning he was he needed the virgin Jehnna
to with the mark on her body
to touch it and all that stuff. And anyway, moving on. So eventually our heroes wake up and find out where she's gone to. And Conan and his companions, they head inside there. And they at first saw mirrors and stuff. But eventually Conan faces the demon that when he arrives at the where the diamond key is in. And he actually figures it out that he has to shatter the mirrors, sort of like a symbolism.
What's happening is he goes into a mirrored room and he gets locked in there, and there's all these reflections, a bit like in a mirror maze, where lots of different reflections. And this creature appears, but it's only a manifestation of the wizard who actually lives in the this castle.
Yeah.
But he's using the mirrors to create
the illusion,
another being, an illusion of a being, because. There's only one person in the castle, which is the wizard.
Yeah, so luckily enough, Conan shatters the mirrors and
slays the beast.
Slays the wizard.
Well, he slays the beast who turns to glass, and then we find out it was the wizard.
Yeah, soon enough, Jehnna, after she was having a brief slumber in one of the rooms there, and she eventually revives, and she gets the diamond, and they all have to rush out because the whole crystal palace is going to fall to pieces.
Now, somehow or other, the life of the sorcerer was tied to the castle. So when he snuffed it,
yes.
When he shuffled off this mortal coil, his castle was going to self-destruct.
Yeah.
It's like Mission Impossible.
Yes. So when they eventually get off there, and they get tackled by a bunch of the Queen's soldiers.
Yes.
But eventually, and Bombard claims, I think
he knew nothing about it.
He pretends to know nothing about it, but we both know, me and Mike know that he does know something of it.
He has an alternate set of instructions from the Queen. Once they get the goodies, he's supposed to dispatch Conan.
Because they see him as a bit of a threat.
And we don't need him no more. How's that?
Yeah, later that night, as they're fixing their wounds and stuff like that, and Jehnna talks to Conan, asks him whether or not he had a girlfriend or anything like that, or more than that. It was.
Yeah. He said, "What's the woman do you like?" And he looked at Grace Jones, said something like that.
Yeah.
Fit, tough, adventurous. You want to
spirit.
get outgoing, spirited. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a little dainty little girl who's never been
See,
outside.
Jehnna is she's a very sheltered young little virgin girl, and she has never ventured out. Probably never ventured out alone.
Yeah.
She probably never ventured out on her own and never experienced firsthand of being a warrior. Of course, Grace Zala tries to teach her some stuff, but she's still inexperienced.
She's still a little girl. Yeah.
Yeah, she even asks her advice about what to do if you want to get a guy, get a guy, and she says, "Grab him," in the forceful way.
Grab, and they look on the face.
And she's like saying,
"Please be gentle, Grace."
Okay, okay. If I grab him, what do I do with him then? Even though she's still a child.
Go ask your father.
Yeah, she even asks the little thief, the comedy relief guy, what to do, and he doesn't even know how to explain this to a little inexperienced little kid either.
All repeat after me. Once you're a parent, like I have been, and a grandparent, which I am, when you have to try to tell the kids about the birds and the bees, sometimes, by the time you talk to them, they know more than you.
True. There's some truth in that.
They learn at school with all friends.
Yeah, anyway, they arrive at their second location. They have to get the special treasure in order
Which is the jeweled horn.
Yeah, see this jeweled horn, it goes onto a special statue in order to...
Yeah, well, we skipped that part. There's this special statue that the Queen Tamariss wants to reanimate. It's a god, and the way to reanimate it is to get this horn, which has to be secured by the Virgin with the birthmark, yada yada yada. Bring it back there, bung it on the statue. He comes to life.
We'll get to that.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's why they're on the quest to get this jeweled horn.
So they get at this place, and this is where our wizard was able to find some hieroglyphics that explain a little bit more about the ritual.
Yeah, and he realizes
that it, apart from obtaining the horn and putting it onto the statue, the girl, Jehnna, must be sacrificed.
Yeah, she's part of the ritual to bring the statue to life. So her destiny is not to have one. Mm-hmm. No future life, no pension plan, no nothing.
Yeah. Eventually, Conan picks this up, and he knows that he still wants to do this so he can revive his old love. He
still believes the Queen's going to help him.
Yeah.
Who ever believed the politician? Hey, or a king or a queen?
Yeah. They then fight off the bad guys, and they head out of the cave. But then Bombard crashes the cave entrance, and Jehnna and Bombard, they end up heading out of there, all by themselves.
Hoping that Conan and his little group are stuck inside.
But luckily enough, they underestimated dear old Conan and his companions, and they're able to shift the rocks and head out of there.
Conan's not a weakling.
Yeah, and eventually Conan realizes that the Queen had lied to him, and that now they have another challenge they have to face. They have to go and save
the princess.
Jehnna.
Yeah.
So they end up jumping onto the horses and heading back to the kingdom as quickly as
horsey.
possible. So soon enough, we see the Queen accepting the horn, and she gives her little niece some doped alcohol.
Well, okay, a sedative.
A sedative, if you will.
To make a bit more placid. Placid, just to slow it down. So if she has to do something, come over here, dear. Yes, auntie. That sort of stuff. Yeah.
She drinks it, and then they begin the ritual. She presents the horn onto the statue, and she lowers herself to her knees, and the head priest guy
was getting ready to chop her head off with this big sword,
or cut her throat, whatever. Eventually,
daggers, or cut her head off? No.
Eventually,
I think it was a dagger.
Meanwhile, the others find their way through a secret entrance inside a waterfall to get inside the palace.
Hidden hidden cave or something, or tunnel.
Yeah. Eventually, Zala was able to spear the priest, and then all hell breaks loose, and the statue comes to life, and Conan fights it as best he can.
Yeah, and in the end.
And then he eventually tears out the horn, killing the monster.
Yeah, well, you took its power away by ripping the horn off. Yeah.
And then later on, we see Jehnna, or Queen Jehnna, I should say, now coronated.
She's been coronated. She's now queen.
Yeah, now she's taking over her aunt's role, whom her aunt is dead, obviously.
She was naughty, and so was her vizier, who was giving a lot of bad advice.
Yeah. And so she sits on. So Jehnna is now the queen, and she asks Zala to become her.
You keep her Zala, then Zula.
Oh, it's Zula. Sorry, I don't know why I said that.
Chris and Eric.
Sorry.
Zala.
Anyway, she asks Zula to become her new general of her army.
Captain of the Guard.
Captain of the Guard.
Yes. And that's a good job. I got a home. She was the last of her tribe, I think. So she had a home now.
Yeah, and she asks
the wizard guy.
Little thief guy.
No, the wizard guy.
No, the little thief guy next. If he could become her court jester.
Okay, well, then the wizard.
Then she asks the wizard to become her vizier type priest guy.
Well, she needed a good advisor to keep on the straight and narrow, and she believed he was a wise man, so he got the job. So the three of them had captain of the guard, an advisor, and a court jester.
And she finally turns to Conan and asks him to rule beside her and become her husband and king. But Conan says that he'll wait for his own king in his own kingdom to...
Yeah, he had other plans.
Yeah,
so...
See, he still believes that he's got a kingdom waiting for him.
Because the witch in the first movie said, you will be a king of your own people or your own province or something rather, So...
Yeah.
Now, who would believe a witch living in a little shelter shack
Especially
somewhere?
when she tried to kill him.
They try to kill him, and you would think he had half a brain. Yeah.
Anyway, she briefly gives him a kiss goodbye or farewell, and Conan leaves the court. The end, and then we flash forward to the end credits the narrator saying that Conan continues having adventures and then eventually
became a king
and has a crown placed
on
on
a
a
brow or
brow,
something. Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know what that means.
With great power comes great responsibility, and he becomes a king. Then you got to worry about all the people he's in charge of. You got to protect and feed and make sure they're employed and protect them from other invaders. Yada yada yada. Get tax money, build hospitals and roads. Whatever.
Yeah, according to the filmmaker who filmed this movie, he didn't like the first version of Conan because Conan was too overdressed, and he thought he wanted to make him look like the actual, like a lot like the comic book, a little bit.
I haven't seen a comic book.
Well, I just meant that.
No, I can't comment because I haven't seen a comic book.
Well, anyway, the clothings were overdressed.
Too much in the first movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He wasn't wearing a lot in the first movie. What do you want? A G-string?
I just meant that. I guess they had different opinions about it.
Yeah, whatever. A loincloth. He's not Tarzan.
True.
Anyway, now, now just getting back into some of the production stuff. John Milius, that's his name, who did the first movie, was unable to direct it. They suggested this Richard Fleischer, I think is the right name for his pronunciation, and he had been known for doing some other good movies earlier on. Barabbas in 1961, Mandingo in 1975, and that was Ferdinand De Laurentiis, Raphael's father. So he knew this guy could produce, direct, produce a good product.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is that Arnold Schwarzenegger's girlfriend or wife at the time came to the set, and she and Arnold would ride on horseback and have a picnic somewhere nice.
Well, it's okay. They weren't always shooting. That set scenes up and stuff.
I know, but it's nice when you think about this.
Yeah. Well, when we did the film shoot a couple of years ago there, we had food all over the place and stuff. Not everyone was working all the time, except for you.
I know, but I just meant that they took the time out to take a break from
but he wasn't
set
the director or the
activities.
producer or the DOP. I mean, he said, "Oh, we need you in an hour or so. We're going to do the so-and-so shots. We're going to set things up or whatever." So, yeah, he had time to do that sort of stuff. Yeah, on the odd day. Now, getting back to what I was talking about before, Conan the Destroyer was originally going to be an R-rated movie for with violence. I believe there was going to be possibly a sex scene in it, a bit of nudity, and maybe some eroticism of a statue or something or other. I do not know the whole lot because I didn't see the deleted scenes. But the problem is they wanted to tone it down to make it PG, so they took a few of these scenes out.
That's a drag.
Well, I think the problem is when you start mucking around with something, you can sometimes win and sometimes lose because you lose some things that could make it more interesting.
That was probably one of the reasons why Arnold got annoyed with the producers.
Yeah. Well, it's like, remember that movie we haven't reviewed it, that The Watcher in the Woods, the Disney movie?
Yes, we already did.
Did we? Okay.
Last year.
Did we? Okay. Well, see, to me, it was a fence sitter. It wasn't quite a family movie, and it wasn't quite a horror movie. You were sitting on the fence. It didn't commit to itself, what it's supposed to end up being. So we want to be everything to everybody. It didn't work. So it became... I'll use the word a flop because I've watched it and it's a nice tale, but it wasn't good enough for kids to watch, and there wasn't enough action and horror for an adult. So yeah, you got to get the mix right. And we've been talking about balance and stuff in movies. A good script, good acting, good directorship. Get this and the right amount of action and sex scenes, if there's going to be sex in it. And to get the balance right, so it all comes together. Not like a jigsaw puzzle. You have one piece out of a jigsaw puzzle, it's not right. It all has to come together.
Yeah. So the whoever was the producer at the time working on this, they didn't know. They're just. I just wish that they just stopped and think about this sort of stuff when you think about it.
Yeah, but...
And, I mean, if they're going to be trying to tone it down, they're going to realise what you're going to expect from at the end of the day.
Well, that's it, and that's where you can make mistakes.
I do keep wondering if these guys...
You miss your target audience sometimes.
Yeah, I do wonder if they ever do any screen tests of this actual end product. And
they don't do a screen test of an end product. They don't always have bums sitting down there, not going to reshoot it.
True.
Okay, they're going to, we'll do a sampling. No, they let it loose, hoping it'd ride on the wake of the first movie, and it didn't work quite as good.
I mean, in some movies, they were. I mean, there were times they would get a group of people who are assigned not to breathe a word of the production to anyone, and they would be a test audience for it and make sure that they got the right amount of gore or interest
if
involved.
Everything's already been shot and the budget's already blown, they're not going to go and reshoot it.
No, I suppose not.
So if you can't get it right first time round, you're wasting your time. Remember we did a Hitchcock thingy about Alfred Hitchcock? Did we do Alfred Hitchcock?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And when he was doing Psycho, the first cut of the movie, he used a phrase stillborn. It didn't get the juices going, so they trimmed it and they cut it and re-edited everything, and they took so many minutes out and they made it nice and tight, and then it became a masterpiece.
Yeah,
I
remember in another piece of work, I think, I'm not sure which of Steven Spielberg's stuff, but I read somewhere that when he did a bit of a test screening with someone else, and they listened to it without music, so you know.
Oh yeah, and music can play a big part in those sort of movies.
The person thought, it sounds lame, and then once they added the music in, it kind of beefed up the scene.
You got the atmos happening, yeah. Anyway, moving right along. I won't go too much about the casting. We've already mentioned Grace and a few things. Oh yeah, the guy who played Malik, that was supposed to be originally played by a guy called David Lander. He's originally cast to play the role, but due to his deteriorating health, He had multiple sclerosis and a few other problems probably. And this Tracy Walter took over the job. So he wasn't the first choice.
I guess.
No, I'm not taking anything away from Tracy. But yeah, and here's something. Professional wrestler Pat Roach,
I don't know him.
who memorably played the German mechanic in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, yeah, now that's clicked in.
And the thuggy overseer in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh.
Was cast as the Crystal Palace man. He was a sorcerer in makeup. You do get around. I didn't recognise him.
Oh, me neither. I would not have recognised him with that horrible scar on his face.
Well, he had his right eye was. He had a bung right eye, and he had other makeup. But I would not have recognised him. But yeah, but being fair, his makeup does do a lot to change people. So yeah,
True.
And Andre the Giant played the monster. Yeah, in a rubber suit. Yeah. What else can we say? I think the DOP was a guy called Jack Cardiff. And he'd worked on the Vikings in 1958, Cross Swords in 1977.
So this is not his first
No.
sword and sorcery movie.
No, Amityville 3D. Yeah. So he'd been around. So he'd worked a few things. So he knows his way around.
That's cool.
Yeah. Other films, African Queen, King.
That's an old one.
War and Peace by King Vidor. Rambo, First Blood Part 2. He got around. Yeah. So, interesting. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Shooting took place in Mexico. Didn't say where in Mexico. Just out in the rocky areas and dirty areas and bushy areas and whatever. But where the first movie, that went to a lot of different places around. I can't remember what country. They started off in Yugoslavia and then went somewhere else because they couldn't film in Yugoslavia, and they did some other shots in other parts of. I think go to Spain or somewhere. I can't remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, so they made it into all sorts of areas. I guess.
They jumped around a bit, and that actually moving people around and sets around, equipment around, does actually eat in your budget a tad too.
I heard about that.
And we're moving right along. Like the box office didn't do as good as the first movie. Schwarzenegger and Fleischer and De Laurentiis subsequently teamed up again to do a movie called Red Sonja.
I heard that.
We might have a look at that and see if it's worthwhile reviewing. Whatever else. Critical responses. Not a lot on it. It got mediocre as an average response, which is good from these guys because they'll either rip it apart or say it's fantastic, and then say, well, it wasn't too bad. Well, it's not too bad from some of the reviewers who are just so nasty and they're really good for the terse remarks and everything. It's So it's good, but they did say things like this. Roger Ebert rated the film 3 out of 4 stars. And he wrote, Conan the Destroyer is sillier, funnier, and more entertaining than the first film. So he didn't like... See, he doesn't like the violence, so he liked the softer movie. Okay? That's what I said before. Some people like toned down. Some people like it G'd up a little bit, turn up. Yeah. But he actually... he praised the film's use of character actors. So he said the choice of actors were good.
But I gotta admit that the first one, it was relatable. Like he wanted to go out and seek revenge.
I'm talking about this movie now. I'm talking about this movie. Okay, forget it. He brought Grace Jones in. He liked Grace Jones. He liked Arnold Schwarzenegger because he looked the part. That sort of stuff. Yeah. So that was good. Variety said it was an ideal sword and sorcery picture, and also praised Grace Jones. I keep saying Grace Jones is good.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Vincent Carnaby from New York Times wrote, Schwarzenegger struggles with the film's more comedic tone. Now, that's interesting because he didn't have a major comical role in it, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Unless he's thinking that he
he's
didn't
not
come off as funny.
Costello. No, but it wasn't a comedy. It was a light-hearted action adventure with a bit of comedy in it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that was funny in that role was when he was drinking and then he started slapping his the idiot around.
Yeah, but other things, we was talking to the camel and something, punched it, just little things. But I think he handled it well. I mean, this guy, I mean, it's not the Three Stooges. It's a light-hearted action comedy. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, moving right along. Here's one. Here it is. Colin Greenland. He reviewed this movie for Image Magazine. Imagine Magazine, and stated that, here's his words, apart from the fact that this is acted by real people, Conan the Destroyer is pure comic book, which has the odd effect of making the actual animated comic book largely superfluous.
What's that mean?
The movie was better than the comic book.
Go figure it.
And Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, I don't worry about them terms because you got a handful of people voting, and nobody takes them.
Mostly it's fans.
Well,
who vote.
But when you we got 10 votes. Hello. If you said 110 or 1,000, that'd be different. But 10 people, it's probably the same 10 people who are always going on there. Yeah. Well, so I'm not worried. But they got an average rating. Metacritic did the same. So 12 reviews from Metacritic, woo, and 24 for Rotten Tomatoes. Why don't people? If people are going to do it, why don't they put more people in there? So, I mean, why had one person liked it? That means 100% of people liked it. So it's crap. Anyway, here we go. Availability, guys. Get your pens ready. eBay, plenty there. DVD and Blu-ray. But there's also a lot of VHS tapes there. So if you're going to buy one off eBay, make sure you don't click on the VHS. Because a lot of VHS ones still there. People selling second-hand ones and new ones which never actually sold and yada, yada, yada. Amazon, plenty to buy, and their Amazon Prime has a rental facility for it as well, so you can either rent it or buy it through Amazon. There you go. And I'm going to give this, I think I gave the previous movie 10 out of 10. This one, I'm going to give 9 out of 10, only for the fact that the directors and everybody screwed it up by trying to soften it too much. Apart from that, I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 myself too, because of those same sentiments that Mike just mentioned.
Make a commitment, folks. You got to get the balance right, otherwise you're throwing your money down the toilet.
We don't want that, do we?
Well, if they're going to throw it away, then give me some. I really need some really badly. Feel free to watch this movie, guys. Look, it's a good movie. It's probably still available at rental shops, so you can rent it on Prime Video through Amazon, and different other places. So there might be other streaming locations. Yeah, if you don't buy it, stream it. But pay for the stream. Have a look. Good movie.
Yeah, so feel free to watch it and let us know in the comments what you guys think of the end product.
I think it's a good movie, but I think the first movie was better from the action and the bloodletting and all the other good groovy stuff. They softened it too much.
Yes, that's their own fault.
Well, that happens. I mean, they bad call.
They should have listened to Arnold.
Well, yeah, but sometimes the actor doesn't really know.
I suppose. I mean, just like Sylvester Stallone didn't know.
He stuff that does Dredd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I thought it was pretty interesting, even though fans may disagree with me on that score.
Well, the problem with Judge Dredd was they couldn't make a decision whether it's going to be a serious movie or a comedy movie, or end up being a little bit of both. So it was a non-serious action movie, but it wasn't actually comedy enough. So it didn't actually to me, it didn't fall into either genre comfortably. Yeah, so a good movie. The sequel's crap. The other actor, I mean, but the first movie was good. I like Sylvester Stallone action movies. I like Schwarzenegger action movies. They do them well.
Yeah, I think they all do them well.
Yeah, they may or may not like each other, but they were in the Expendables together. They do work on the same film, and I don't know if it was just written into the script. But they didn't like each other. But I heard rumours they don't really get along. So I don't know.
Anyway,
Who cares? Not my problem.
So anyway, that's about it for us tonight.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
So I hope you guys may check it out, and I hope you guys see us for our next podcast in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see you guys. I mean, not next couple of weeks, next couple of days.
Well, we're going to do some more. We're not going on holidays. We're going to do that at Christmas time.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening to this latest podcast, guys. We'll see you guys for the next one. This is Sarah Stephenson
And Michael.
saying we'll see you guys for the next one. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.